My name is Dr. Nenye Kocha. I represent AAC. Sir, I want to make an appeal to you. I want to make an appeal because indeed what you raised is a very sensitive matter, threat to life. But I'll draw your attention to what happened here yesterday. Somebody also was threatened, and the police kind of had to rise up and secure her and brought her to the hall. And then you stabilized everything, and we got through that. So I want to say that in the same fold, you should try and complete the assignment. Because this assignment is sensitive. This assignment will affect the nation if it's truncated at this point. We are sure that those who are raising threat to you through anonymous means do not want to be known for what they're doing. So please, sir, do the best you can so we'll have a complete process in Rivers State. Thank you.
Any other comments? In the absence of further comments, I want to re-emphasize that I still want to adjourn collations. Collations will be adjourned, like I said, until INEC, indeed represented by the REC, because in the assault I have received for the past 3 days, they have failed to recognize the difference between the scope and the REC of Rivers State. When there are crises in polling units, the attack is on my phone and myself that I'm responsible. When beavers fail to function, the attack is equally on my phone that I'm responsible. In fact, I'm responsible for the code errors and the rest of that, or malfunctioning of beavers. And so I believe that if the INEC represented by REC is able to address this misinformation, we can reconsider and reconvey. But for now, collation is hereby adjourned. Thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me appeal that let's give him some time. We'll come back to this place to address you. We are going to also release a press statement. We are going to talk to our headquarters. We'll get back to you. Thank you.
My advice, ladies and gentlemen, is that let us remain calm and let us not disperse. Let us remain seated. We will update you from time to time. And members of the press, you are a partner in national progress. And you are the representatives of the public in this room. And I am also aware that many of your channels are on live broadcasts. And you mold and shape public opinion. We do hope you all will give this sad development the perspective it desires and the perspective it deserves, so that all men and women of goodwill everywhere we rise as one to condemn this threat to the life of a public servant. It does not achieve anything really to resort to such crude tactics. Please help sensitize the public and let public opinion for good outweigh the one for evil. And then all humanity will be the winner for this singular reason. Thank you.
From Port Harcourt, especially against the backdrop of what we had been saying earlier on about the need for calming down and for access for people to take this matter from a pragmatic viewpoint. Dr. Oluwatola.
Thank you very much, Ladi. So what is happening in Rivers is regrettable and very sad, quite shameful. What's happening, and I wish the professor safety, and I wish his family well. I think that politicians, we need to recognize that elections are not a do or die affair. If you don't win this year, you can come back in 4 years, and desist from do or die tactics to have their way. And at the same time, I think the people also, like you've said, Ladi, need to be calm and not take the law into their hands. In the end, there are legal processes for resolving disputes. There are legal processes. That's why we are all equal under the rule of law. I know that it is true that politicians sometimes make us to feel that we are not equal under the rule of law, but that's the progression of democracy, that we continue, we resist the urge to devolve to a state of anarchy, but all consistently try to appeal to the better angels of our nature and to uphold the rule of law, whether it be in our electoral process or in any other process. I want to close with this by saying that INEC has lost credibility in the eyes of the people. And the last thing our democracy needs is for people to feel like they do not have agency in the decision about who leads them. INEC needs to do what it takes, whatever it takes, to restore confidence. And that means that INEC needs to immediately set up a review process of the electoral process that we've just experienced, if for no other reason than to restore confidence of the people in the electoral process. And I hope that happens very, very promptly.
Indeed. Honorable Wasti Dahosa, your comments.
Well, it's regrettable. I empathize with the professor, and it's unfortunate that it has to get to the stage where lives are threatened. It should not be so. These are servants of the state. They are carrying out public office activities for the good of all. We should really be commending them, and I commend him as a person. But sometimes you find that people are in difficulties because of the shenanigans of others who should have performed their duty. Some of these problems may not have arisen at the level of collation that we are in now. They may have occurred a long time ago. But the security community must be called upon to perform their role. They are a critical element of the electoral system. They have a duty to ensure that the life of everyone involved either as a voter or an official, is guaranteed. And so I pray that that happens and urge INEC to resolve the disputes amicably, satisfactorily, peacefully, and democratically.
Thank you very much. That's a good place to anchor it. Honorable Ehioge West Idahosa, thank you as always for your incisive perspective on the issues as they arise. We're quite grateful for your participation this morning. The same goes to you, Dr. Oluwatola Toby, for your time and for your perspective on the program. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Coming back to our studios here, Jide, I know that now you've updated your stats and the number crunching has gotten to an even higher level. What do we have now?
So the first thing we have is I ask myself, are we in 2023 or are we in 2019? And I'll tell you why. In 2019, when this collation process started, the first state we started with was Ekiti. 2023, the first state that was announced, Ekiti. Things went so bad in 2019 that the last state that was announced, Rivers. Now, it seems that we're back to where we were 4 years ago, Rivers. We need to reflect. What is the situation as at now? There are three ways to look at it. To look at which states have the parties won. 23 out of 36 state results have been announced, including Abuja. Across these 23 states, the ANPP has won 1 state. The Labour Party has won 5 states.
Don't you mean the NNPP?
So the NNPP, the NNPP 1 state. The Labour Party 5 states. The APC 7 states. The PDP 10 states. Though the PDP has won more states, across these 10 states it has won, and across all the 23 states that we've seen results, they've had very few margins. So above all, the APC still has the highest number of votes, as at this moment, 6.5 million votes. PDP, second place, 5.1 million votes. Labour Party, third place, 3.1 million votes. Sorry, Labour Party, third place, 3.1 million votes. The NNPP is fourth with 1.4 million votes. In summary, the APC and its candidate is leading as a lead over the PDP of 1.3 million votes. That is the situation across the 23 states that we have results. The second question people are asking is, where are these 13 states that have not produced results? We need to look at them from the zone-by-zone perspective. First, in the South-South, all the results from the 6 states, in the Southwest, all the 6 results from the Southwest have been announced. We are not expecting any more results from the Southwest. In the South-South, only 3 states out of the 6 states results have been announced. We're expecting results from Rivers, Delta, and Akwa Ibom. In the Southeast, we've gotten only 1 state out of 5 states. So we're expecting results from Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Imo. In the Northwest, 6 out of 7 states have given us their results. We're expecting results from Zamfara. In the North Central, across the 6 states in the North Central, we're expecting results from Plateau, Niger, and Kogi states. We've gotten the results from Abuja. And in the Northeast, we're expecting results from Borno, Taraba. We've gotten 4 results out of the 6 results expected from the Northeast. So the summary is 23 out of 36 state results have been released. We've looked at the 13 states that we're expecting the results from, and we can see that the APC still has the majority of votes. It has a lead of 1.3 million votes over the PDP, though the PDP across these 23 states has won the most number of states. Don't forget, winning the most number of states does not guarantee you that you've declared the winner. What guarantees that you've declared the winner is you get 25% as a minimum in 24 states, including the FCT. Some people say that's about 25 states, and you score the majority number of votes. So now that we've crossed the mid-mark, clearly we've crossed the mid-mark, we can clearly see which horse is winning. Like I said earlier, the challenge for the horse that is leading is the majority of votes scored from the other candidates. It's more than the votes the APC has scored. So if you look at the votes from the PDP, from the Labour Party, and from the NNPP, total votes scored by those three parties, 9.7 million votes, relative to the 6.5 million votes scored by the APC. So whoever wins this race, the challenge is you need compulsorily to bring everyone together. And I must emphasize that point I talked about. Remember when we started this Fourth Republic, President Obasanjo won 28 out of 36 states. Since then, presidents have been winning fewer states, which means there's been less national appeal. And that affects everything in the country. Affects security, affects confidence, affects perception.
Is there any way, Jide, my apologies for butting in, is there any way to really emphasize that any stronger than you already have? I ask advisedly. There are those who have, even in the build-up to the elections, this particular election, have said over and over again that it seems Nigerians are a lot more divided now than ever before. And that's something, from what you are saying, it's almost like data is proving it. And then the case you made the other time that, you know, one candidate won far more votes, block votes from a particular region, and another candidate won another block of votes from a particular region. Meanwhile, the Constitution mandates you have to have a generous spread across the nation. So how significant is this issue to us, especially in the name of what Ladi reminded us the other time that the Army General said, unity and faith, peace and progress?
Let's look at it this way. The APC, as at this moment, has scored 6.5 million votes. Keep that number in one hand, 6.5 million votes. Other parties have scored 9.7 million votes. What it means is that there are more people that are dissatisfied with this result than more people that are satisfied with it. More people have said they don't want this candidate. They are pointing to the candidates they want. That is the feeling. That is the national sentiment, where the majority are saying we don't want this candidate. Does it make it right or wrong? Not necessarily. The Constitution states the requirements for the president, and whoever will be declared will meet that requirement, likely. But the challenge for that person is, how do you manage the sentiments of citizens living in other states? And that's why I say that in the build-up to this campaign and the elections, I've studied all the manifestos of the candidates. Candidate A, if I were to, it's really, candidate A it's the difference between 6 and half a dozen. One is 6, the other is half a dozen, the third is 2 times 3. And so the essence is, put your manifesto aside and look at what the facts and what the sentiments are saying. At the moment, a candidate is leading even though he scored less votes that have been cast. A candidate is leading even though another candidate is winning more of the states. That is the implication. You are in the lead. Nothing wrong with it. What is the main challenge is, there's another party, or there are other parties, and their supporters are saying, we want someone else. And so the first responsibility is cooperation. And I mentioned yesterday, the Chief of Defense Staff General, Lucky Rabo, couldn't have put it in any way better. And that is, there's a party greater than all these parties, and that party is unity, faith, peace, and progress. And whoever wins, whatever happens as we see the results of these 13 other states, we need to know that our priority now is unity. We have to have faith, peace, and it's all about the progress of Nigeria. Millicent.
I saw a similar party on your status, by the way. I'm sure we all saw that. But then initially you talked about, you know, the differentiation of a particular political party taking a block of votes in the north and then the other in the south. But you mentioned a party that has an even spread. What percentage is that?
So at the moment, out of APC's 6.5 million votes, 40% of that has come from the southern region of Nigeria. At the moment, out of PDP's 5.1 million votes, 77% has come from northern Nigeria. Out of Labour Party's 3.1 million votes, 58% has come from southern Nigeria. And for the NNPP, 99% of his votes have come from northern Nigeria. The NNPP has won one state, and that's Kano.
A peak protein breakfast gets you up to a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes through his work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes absolute fun. That's because all day and every day, the peak goes on.
Start your day with a peak protein breakfast. Peak. Reach for your peak.
So the challenge is, we're expecting so many other states. Majority of those states, again, southeast, south-south. The challenge is, the states from the south-south and the southeast, all those states, Rivers, Delta, Akwa Ibom, Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Imo, all the states we're expecting from the southern region were won by the PDP 4 years ago. And now that the PDP is no longer in the lead, what will happen in with the state of peace in those states?
That's a very interesting development. There are several results. Of course, again, all of this are based on the numbers. We have to emphasize that Babajide is not giving his opinion here. He's talking about the patterns as dictated by the numbers. And the implications of those numbers on the election where we have it as at this moment. We have 40 minutes of waiting time for that. You can see, of course, that the hall is already beginning to have quite a number of people, except for the table on the dais, which is where Professor Yakubu and his colleagues will be sitting. And hopefully, perhaps, just like we talked about earlier in the day, perhaps by the end of proceedings today, we will have virtually all the results from all the other outstanding states formally received at the INEC Collation Center. And then, of course, Babajide will be able to have his complete figures for the purpose of his statistical analysis. And then, of course, others who are looking for the same results for other reasons will also have them. And then we might have an idea of where this election is taking us. So the visuals there from the National Collation Center in the Federal Capital.
Ladi, again, for our viewers, we need to be able to let them understand that all this information is at, like you said, at the moment. And again, it's always good to reemphasize some key points. The key points are that out of these 23 states that we have their results, 13 of these states are in northern Nigeria, 10 in southern Nigeria. I'd like to quickly talk about the states that we have the results in northern Nigeria, that the PDP, APC, the Labour Party, and the NNPP have won. First, to the states that we've seen the Labour Party win. The Labour Party, based on the results at the state level and the national, all the results from INEC, all these results are from INEC. The Labour Party won Nasarawa State. The Labour Party as well won Abuja. Now let's look at the states the APC won in northern Nigeria. The APC has won only 3 states in northern Nigeria: Kwara State, Jigawa State, and Benue. Let's look at the states the PDP has won in northern Nigeria: Kebbi, Yobe, Gombe, Adamawa, Katsina, Sokoto, Bauchi, and Kaduna. That is the situation as at now in northern Nigeria. Let's go to southern Nigeria. In southern Nigeria, the Labour Party has won 4 states: Lagos State, Cross River, Enugu, and Edo. In southern Nigeria, the APC has also won 4 states: Ekiti, Ondo, Ogun, and Oyo. And the PDP has won 2 states: Osun and Bayelsa. In summation, like we emphasized, people want to know who is leading. The APC is leading, a margin of 1.3 million votes, and that is the situation. We still have 13 more states. It's still, again, if you look at the PVCs that have been collected in these 13 states, if you look at the potential voter turnout that could happen within these 13 states, there's still a probability, you might want to call it a possibility, that any of the other horses could still take the lead. That is the fact.
This is where we are at this point with the results, and of course, we must continue to emphasize the fact that so many people are interested in these results, and what we're doing is providing some context and some clarity based on the numbers that we have, and just to re-emphasize the fact that all the results that we put up here, that we analyzed, that Jide crunches the numbers, are all results already released by the Independent National Electoral Commission. So that's very important to note. We take all the stories on all the figures from INEC.
And talking about results, IREV's numbers are up, 81,867.
Say that again.
81,867.
Okay, so we're slowly, but possibly by the time Professor Yakubu takes his seat at about midday, we might be hitting the 82,000.
Slowly but surely.
There you have the IREV portal there. So one will want to encourage citizens to go there and check for
your polling units, your results from your polling units, your ward, the total. If you have pictures, you can cross-check. It's available for you.
Yeah.
You can access it.
And as you can see, more and more of them are having red lights, red colors.
Tags. Which
beside the blue. Which means
they
have all their...
and sometimes, there's even though, as has been said, quite a number of these uploaded results are, sometimes not quite legible, sometimes involve other objects other than the results and so on. But quite a lot of them are actually the results, and they are legible and can be read. Yeah. So one cannot overemphasize that.
There's something that we heard from the Commissioner of Police in Rivers State where we went, when he was talking about the fact that some of the issues that were like cyberbullying on the social media has begun to translate to the streets, and that's not very, very pleasant. It's not very pleasant, and it's something that we've been talking about.
We've been talking about it, and because what is now happening is that a lot of what is being said is being fed into the narrative that is making people come out and take positions. One cannot overemphasize the importance of not following down that path. Professor Adias, who is the scope in River State, has at the moment decided, I'm not doing this anymore because, yesterday there were threats to his life. As Honorable Westida also pointed out, he may not have been responsible for what led to those threats. It may have been either the work of other people and all of that. Indeed, the news is that, he's saying that there were threats to his life. And as I pointed out, the reports were that overnight he spent the time within the INEC Collation Center in Port Harcourt because the security agencies said it was too risky for him to leave there and go anywhere else, even to observe some rest. So he spent, the night in Port Harcourt in River State, and perhaps, again, this is just emblematic of some of what may be happening. But before we go any further, perhaps let's take this out of Gusau in Zamfara State, where the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, has won the presidential election in Zamfara State. Vote 298,396. That's 298,396 votes. Of all the votes cast. Let's listen into the collation officer for Zamfara State, the scope, Professor Kashim Shehu of the Federal University of Birni Kebbi, who announced the results earlier.
of registered voters as collated
1,801,807,9,308. 1,808. Total number of accredited voters as collated 527,137. 527,137 votes. Now, votes according to local government and okay. Now scores according to party. Party A. Party A scored 101-2. Party AA scored 210. AAC scored 99. ADC 582. ADP 855. APC 298,396. APC 298,396. APGA APGA scored 921. APGA 921. APM 218. APM 218. APP 149. APP 149. BP 44. BP 44. LP 1660. LP 1660. NNPP scored 4044. NNPP 4044. NRM 801. PDP 193,978. PDP 193,978 votes. PRP 266. PRP 6266. SDP 81. SDP 81. YPP 355. YPP 355. ZLP 142. 142. Total valid votes. Total valid votes 502,923. Total valid votes 502,923. Rejected votes 16,508. Rejected votes 16,508.
Total votes cast 519,431. Total vote cast 519,431. Thank you for the opportunity to present this before you. Cancellation. Within the course of election process, there were some cancellation. These cancellations are presented as follows. Number of polling units affected, 167. Number of polling units affected, 167.
I need something we go ginger me. We don't I dey breathe for it now. I dey run kilometers. That's why I dey come.
Total number of registered voters for the affected PUs 102 013 182,013. Total number of PBCs collected. Total number of PBCs collected 174,862. Total number of PBCs collected 174,862. Thank you for listening.
Stay tuned. Well, we have the results there from Zamfara, which Jide is using, of course, now to update his portal. But before that, let's go back to Port Harcourt in River State and remind you of what happened a couple of moments ago. The state collation officer for the presidential election, Professor Charles Adias, has suspended the further collation of results from the state until further notice. He's alleged threats to his life and has insisted that until INEC takes action with respect to those threats, he will not be proceeding any further. Of course, the collation had already commenced and was going on. In fact, there were two results they were expecting from Obiapo local government and from Degema, which incidentally are the local governments from where Governor Nyesom Wike and his deputy, Dr. Ipalibo Harry Benigo, come from, that were being awaited before this latest development. In spite of appeals from everyone, and a stern warning issued by CP Adeoye, Professor Adia stood his ground that was what was going to happen. Let's listen into CP Adeoye.
Stay in court. I want to request the professor to kindly submit a written complaint to this effect to the Commissioner of Police, Rivers State. Investigation will be launched, and those behind it will be brought to book. I give you my word on that, sir. And while your assignments continue, the Nigeria Police Force guarantees your safety. We will provide adequate security for your movement. We will provide adequate security for your residents. And whoever is stupid enough to attempt anything will pay with their lives. I give you my word. If you wish, try us. That is my word to those behind this blackmail and threats. They have displayed irresponsible ignorance in blaming the professor for non-functioning of beavers. Do they really know how the system works? And I want to request the professor not to be discouraged and not to be deterred in his commitment to national service. Nationalists before you have faced similar travails, and now you are counted among the legends for putting your life on the line in the service of your country. We salute your courage. We want to request, sir, that in the interest of the nation, you complete this process, because if you don't, the national collation will be held up. And it can spin the entire presidential election itself into jeopardy. It is on this note, sir, that I plead that you kindly complete this process while we guarantee your safety, even after the whole election is over. I urge you kindly reconsider, sir.
Any further comments from?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Omangma Harry, Chairman, I'm a Collation Officer for Young Progressive Party, and also the Secretary of Rivers State Interparty Advisory Council. As political party leaders, sir, we condemn in totality the threat to your life. We've been in this hall with you for the past 3 days, and we can attest, one, to your simplicity and the way you handle matter. You have been so neutral in all of this. But why we want to, whilst we condemn the appeal to you, what's the need being here all these days, the night and all that, and we cannot conclude this process? Now you too, you will not be satisfied. You will not be satisfied. You will not be pleased. Yeah, we know you, but we know that the Nigerian police force will be up to their duty to ensure that you are safe, because they are saddled with the protection of lives and property. Sir, reconsider, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any further comments, please?
Well, my name is Pastor Kinsley Chukwu, State Collection Agent for PDP. We recall that yesterday I did commend the Commission, and indeed also commended you, sir. I had to recall my experience from the distribution stage, witnessed distribution, and also witnessed the entire proceedings here since we started collation. So I commended you, entire Commission. Now, we want to plead with you to continue with collation. We've taken 21 AGs, just remaining 2. We also condemn whatever threat that has been made to your life. We condemn it in totality. And I'm happy the CP has given every assurance. He spoke yesterday to a very big extent. And today he has also repeated to assure you of his readiness to provide the necessary police protection that you need. So I want to plead with you, sir, that since we have taken 21 AGs, let's complete it with the remaining ones so that we all go. You are doing this for the sake, for the entire country. That is my humble appeal and submission, sir. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Nenye Kocha. I represent AAC. Sir, I want to make an appeal to you. I want to make an appeal because indeed what you raised is a very sensitive matter, threat to life. But I'll draw your attention to what happened here yesterday. Somebody also was threatened, And the police kind of had to rise up and secure her and brought her to the hall. And then you stabilized everything, and we got through that very ugly incident. So I want to say that in the same fold, you should try and complete the assignment. Because this assignment is sensitive. This assignment will affect the nation if it's truncated at this point. We are sure that those who are raising threat to you through anonymous means do not want to be known for what they're doing. So please, sir, do the best you can so we'll have a complete process in Rivers State. Thank you.
Any other comments? In the absence of further comments, I want to re-emphasize that I still want to adjourn collations. Collations will be adjourned, like I said, until INEC, indeed represented by the REC, because in the assault I have received for the past 3 days, they have failed to recognize the difference between the scope and the REC of Rivers State. When there are crises in polling units, the attack is on my phone and myself that I'm responsible. When beavers fail to function, the attack is equally on my phone that I'm responsible. In fact, I'm responsible for the code errors and the rest of that, or malfunctioning of beavers. And so I believe that if the INEC represented by REC is able to address this misinformation, we can reconsider and reconvey. But for now, collation is hereby adjourned. Thank you for your time.
Professor Charles Adias, the State Collation Officer for the presidential election in Rivers State. There earlier on today, in fact, just about an hour or so ago, withdrawing from the collation exercise, suspending the exercise until further notice because of threats to his life.
And he did say that, if INEC can address some of the misinformation, then, they can see the process continue and conclude. Well, we have more news coming in on the second, on the hour. The Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, they're cautioning political leaders and actors against making provocative and unguarded statements, which they say could drag the country into unnecessary conflict. While reckless statements from inconsequential individuals can be easily ignored, they're saying this is not so for of those from respected political and religious leaders. Quote, it is important that patriotic and well-meaning Nigerian leaders should support unrelenting adherence to process and procedure in the ongoing electoral process. This is because any inclination to unprocedural decision or action at this critical time is a direct call for anarchy, which will not yield any positive outcome to the nation. While the NSCIA counsels the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to remain undistracted and committed to its duty until it discharges it to its logical conclusion, it's asking all Nigerians, particularly Muslims, that no matter the level of provocation from certain quarters, to remain calm and prayerful.
That is coming as if on cue. Very important at this point. Live pictures out of the International Conference Center in Abuja, venue of the National Collation Center, which we're still keeping our eyes on in Abuja. We expect that the INEC National Chairman and his commissioners will be there at a point in time. There you have it. We're still expecting the commencement of proceedings there. Our eyes are still there. And once that begins to happen, or once that's set to happen, we will let you know.
It's 7 minutes to what?
7 minutes
now.
6 minutes to so perhaps we've got a couple of minutes to allow Jide update us on what we're having. I see that the horses have changed position. The horse that was in the lead is still in the lead, but it's moved further ahead. What's the situation?
There are three ways to look at this situation. The first is to look at what is going on in the states. The second is to look at what's going on in the regions. And the third is what do the numbers mean? The first, the state perspective. As at this moment, we have 24 results out of 36. 24 including Abuja out of 36. The NNPP has won 1 state. The Labour Party has won 5 states. The APC has won 8 states. The PDP has won 10 states, just on the state-by-state perspective. Let's look at what is going on the regional perspective. In the North Central, we are still expecting 3 results out of the 6 states. We're expecting results from Plateau State, Niger State, and Kogi State. In the Northeast, we're expecting 2 more results out of the 6 results from the Northeast. We're expecting results from Borno and Taraba States. In the Southeast, we're expecting 4 results out of 5. We're expecting results from Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Imo States. And in the South-South, we are still expecting 3 results out of the 6 states. We're expecting results from Rivers, Delta, and Akwa Ibom. Millicent, there are 2 zones that we've gotten complete results from, the Northwest Ayo and the Southwest. Why are these 2 zones important? For 2 reasons. The first is the Northwest has the highest number of PVCs in Nigeria, 21 million, and we've gotten all results from the Northwest. Second, we have all the results from the Southwest. Why is this important? The Southwest is the second region that has the second highest total number of permanent voter cards, 15 million, and now we have all the results from the Southwest. Now you might want to ask, who won the Northwest? Who won the Southwest? From the results from INEC, the APC in the Northwest had 2.6 million votes, the PDP 2.3 million votes. In simple terms, the APC has won the Northwest. In the Southwest, the APC 9.3 million votes, the PDP 941,000 votes. In simple terms, the APC has won the Southwest. The third and most important point, what do all these regions and states and all these statistics mean? It means based on the 24 states we have the results, the APC is close to the 7 million mark, 6.8 million votes. The PDP, second, distant second right now, 5.3 million votes. The Labour Party, 3.1 million votes, and the NNPP, 1.4 million votes. For viewers at home, what do all these mean? It simply means the APC is in the lead with a margin over the PDP with 1.5 million votes. But again, we're still expecting 12 more states. That is the situation at the moment. All the results from the Northwest, we've seen a winner. All the results from the Southwest, we've seen a winner. We're expecting 12 more states. However, the APC has a margin of lead over the PDP of approximately 1.5 million votes. The question is, will the PDP be able to catch up in these 12 states? Will the Labour Party be able to catch up in these 12 states? Will the NNPP be able to pull surprises in these 12 states? Hopefully, we'll find out before the end of today.
Indeed.
Definitely, we will find out. Hopefully, who will win? I guess we most certainly will. As soon as the National Collation Center opens formally, information that, now this is hopefully information available to us says that the floor will open again
at noon.
At noon, and that's 2 minutes
so
away.
That's about 2 minutes or so. So we're counting down to that. We're expecting them any moment from now. But Jide has given us quite a lot of food for thought. So yeah. I mean, these are results as announced by INEC. Never mind all the discussions we had earlier in the day about process and all of that. These are results that INEC has given us. So again, one expects that many of the states, because that's something that we also need to emphasize, many of the states that we have results from, they've been announced at the level of the states. the officers there now have to carry those same results and head for this National Collation Center in Abuja. So in the course of today, many of the states whose results were announced overnight and in the course of this morning will now be making their way towards the National Collation Center in Abuja to join the queue of states to make presentations to the national chairman of INEC, who is the chief returning officer for the presidential election. So that needs to be separated. The results we have been announced at the state level, but they still need to be submitted at the federal level, if you like, at the National Collation Center for the purposes of receipt and possible review before a final declaration is made at this point in time. But there you still have it, the live pictures from the National Collation Center, which is at the International Conference Center in Abuja. Some activity beginning to show up on the days. I don't know how much of activity that is. A test of microphones and so on, possibly as officials cross the T's and dot the I's ahead of the formal start.
It'll also be good to for INEC to take some of the counsel that our guests have put forward this morning so far, talking along the line of calming tensions, calming people's tempers, and generally saying, look, guys, we need to keep Nigeria united. We need to keep Nigeria peaceful so that we can have faith enough for progress.
And Ayo, do you think there was sort of a foresight? Because you remember the Professor Yakubu, INEC chairman, had said we would have two centers: one, collation proper; the second, to address any issues related to the election.
I think it was only sensible because from Sunday, even from Saturday, we've been having those issues come up. For instance, some have dug up, the place where he affirmed that the IRF will be populated real time. Unfortunately,
that has not happened.
That has not happened. So he had spoken to that one. He needs to speak to that one to calm all of the nerves. But it's also important, some of the issues that I think Dr. Oluwatola mentioned earlier, that look, the political parties themselves need to, in the interest of Nigeria, and this is not in the interest of any political party and all of that, it's in the interest of Nigeria. This is the only country we have. We have to emphasize that. It's the only country we have. This is the only process for now that we have chosen to select our leaders. Frauds, certainly. Faulty, yes. But for now, this is all the process we have. So as a people, we have to join hands and make it work whichever way it is for us all.
Yes, you're right. Whoever wins, we can see the horse that is in the lead. We don't know who will win. I've looked at the parameters, the Northwest, the Southwest. And again, for me, that historical trend, Kwara State. But perhaps the greatest insight from today's data is for whoever candidate that emerges or that is declared president, is that the fact is that the candidate that is in the lead at the moment has 6.8 million votes. If you add the scores of the other three candidates, 9.9 million votes. And so whoever wins should celebrate with cautious optimism.
Okay, just a moment. I understand that they're going live to Abuja. Let's listen in.
And what we want to do is that when we start the collation, we are going to go all through. So we want to have at least 10 states before we proceed. So based on that, and based on the fact that we have around 5-6 states now, we have decided that the collation will commence at 2 p.m. So I want to apologize to you that we are not going to commence at the time we said we are going to commence. We are going to commence at 2 p.m. By 2 p.m., we are confident that we will have more than 10 states of the Federation. As presently, we have around 5 of them, and 3 have been processed. So by 2 p.m., we are confident that all the other states will have been processed. And then we'll just go all through and run through the process and see how far we can go today. So let me once again apologize to you that we are going to start at 2 p.m. Thank you.
The INEC National Commissioner for Voter Education and Publicity, Mr. Festus Okoye, announcing that a third postponement to the start of collation. First, it was supposed to kick off at 11, then it got postponed to 12, and now he's just announced that it's been pushed further until 2 p.m. Today, later on in the afternoon today, when INEC is hoping that it will have at the very minimum 10 states on the queue to submit their results at that time. So I guess part of the reason for this is logistics, so that the situation is smoother, that we can have more results. Hopefully, as Ayo and I were talking about a bit earlier, that, hopefully that this process can be concluded today. But that is only our own hope.
No, but you said it since, I think it was yesterday. You already said, give or take, Wednesday.
Wednesday, yes, I did say that.
That's the advantage of experience.
I did say that, and it is looking that way.
It is looking that way because perhaps even more so because hitherto we'd never had voter population up to 90 million. Now we have more than that. The number of polling units also increased. So there is a lot more collation for the electoral officers at the various levels of hierarchy to attend to. So those are the things that we're seeing.
The lights have gone out at the National Collation Center. So
can we also give this to them in terms of trying to breach that communication gap?
Right.
Which, a lot of our guests have spoken about them. Minute by minute information, what's happening, why it's happening.
Yeah, they came up. Although I did hear that it was because Channels Television beamed the satellite and kept on counting down the minutes.
Channels had to channel the information somehow.
I think before we go any further, Jide, could you conclude your thoughts before I bring in our guest who's just joined us now?
Based on the results that we have at the moment, we're back to where we were in the First Republic, where the candidate that was declared president did not score up to 50% of the votes that were cast in that election. And we remember what happened after the candidate got into office. There were lots of challenges. We're at the point right now where the leading candidate is the candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has scored 6.8 million votes. But if you add the votes of the other candidates, people that wanted their candidate to win, 9 million persons that voted for another person that was not Tinubu. And so he needs to understand that majority, if you look at those numbers, the majority are saying they do not want you. So if the results turn out to still go in your favor, you have huge responsibilities that go beyond what you stated in your manifesto.
I think another thing, Ladi, and I think you are better to speak to this before we go to our guest or possibly even take the Sokoto story, is the fact that
my little one has always been fascinated about theater and works hard to perfect his skill. He needs to be healthy and strong to pursue his dreams. That's why I give him Born Vita.
Born Vita, strength to dream.
For once, we need to get to a point, right, where we recognize the place of political party supremacy. This didn't happen beyond the Third Republic. In the First Republic, it was party supremacy. In the Second Republic, it was party supremacy. That's why the president in 1979, the Second Republic, had to have a kitchen cabinet. In the Third Republic, the party was supreme. The national chairman of the parties had a lot more to say, had a lot more teeth, so to speak. In this republic, that hasn't really happened much. And it's the same system we've been practicing. The person on the ballot is the party, not the individual.
Not the candidate. The candidate's name is
even though, exactly, even though, as you said, it is the candidate that is recognized for which many people go, and that is a very, very good thing. That's also saying that the electorate and the party should and the candidate should recognize that the party is supreme. That's why it's not a candidate's picture on the ballot, but it's that of the party.
Indeed, and speaking of the candidates and pictures, the candidate of the PDP has won the presidential election in Sokoto State. The reports just coming in indicate that the scope in Sokoto, Vice Chancellor of the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, Professor Kabir Bala, has announced the results of that election. Let's listen in.
The election was conducted in all the 23 local governments of the state. And the summary of the result is as follows. The total number of registered voters is 2,037,024. 2,037,024. Number of accredited voters, 619,492. Number of accredited voters, 619,492. The votes received by political parties are as follows. Party A, 115. Party A, 115. Party AA, 110. Party AA, 110. Party AAC, 128. Party AAC, 128. Party ADC, 486. Party ADC, 486. Party ADP, 1,105. Party ADP, 1,105. Party APC, 285,444. Party APC, 285,444. Party APGA, 808. Party APGA, 808. Party APM, 273. Party APM, 273. Party APP, 219. Party APP, 219. Party BP, 126. Party BP, 126. Party LP, 6,568. Party LP, 6,568. Party NNPP, 1,300. Party NNPP, 1,300. Party NRM, 687. That's 81. 681. Party NRM, 681. Party PDP, 288,679. Party PDP, 288,679. Party PRP, 324. Party PRP, 324. Party SDP, 120. Party SDP, 120. Party YPP, 175. Party YPP, 175. Party ZLP, 208. Party ZLP, 208. The total valid votes, 586,815. 586,815. Rejected votes, 21,015. Rejected votes, 21,015. Total votes cast, 607,890. Total votes cast, 607,890. That is a summary of the results.
814.
The 2023 verdict there from Sokoto State. Professor Kabir Bala, the Vice Chancellor of the Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, announcing that the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, had won the presidential election in that state. Let's return to our studios here, and we've been joined by the publisher of the political economist, Mr. Ken Ubeche. Ken, morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, it's now afternoon, but we have been here since morning, so we didn't know when it's afternoon.
We haven't seen the sun.
We haven't seen the sun, so we're not completely aware it's afternoon yet, but it is afternoon. I'm sure you've been following the trends, the themes, the various things that people are talking about. And I guess maybe to just dive you into it or push you into it, whichever you would like. One should begin about asking you of what you make of the electoral process up until the stage that we are now.
Yes, that's where we should be interrogating, especially the media, because I'm more concerned about the role of the media.
Absolutely.
In the entire process. And the media should be interrogating the process of the elections, not just announcing the outcomes, because outcomes, they take processes. And the electoral system is, I call it the cream of democracy. It's election. It's the creamer, actually. And it's supposed to be a festival, not a war. But how do you arrive at that outcome? Is that outcome predetermined outcome? Is the outcome allowed to happen? Is it organic? Or is it something projected by somebody and they work to the outcome? That is what the Nigerian media, I think for now, should be interrogating. And if you ask me, I will say that we have not done enough to bring the electoral actors to account to the Nigerian people. In this instance, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and then the adjunct staff they have hired. What have they done to produce that results that the media is now announcing? And if we begin to interrogate it, we also bring to them, to the fore, the very fact that Democracy is governed by nothing but the rule of law. And the elections are governed by rules, laws, and mores. In the instant election that we're talking about, the presidential election and National Assembly elections, to what extent has INEC and all the actors conformed to the manual for this election? Because that's a manual. The Electoral Act 2022 is the manual for this election. And that Electoral Act is for instance now, it has become the ground norm for this particular election until we get another act. But for now, it governs this election. And I would say that the electoral actors have not conformed to the dictates, to the tenets, and the nuggets of the Electoral Act 2022. And that is where the media should begin to point out those things that the various actors have not done. I give you an instance. On the day of election, President Muhammadu Buhari voted in his Daura community. And he showed to the world who he voted for. The Electoral Act in Section 122 talks about the secrecy of the ballot. I'm not supposed to know who Ladi voted for. I shouldn't know who Millicent voted for. And she shouldn't tell me who she voted for. But a sitting president who also signed this law, he signed into law, showcased who he voted for. And I saw another person, some of that top politician, doing so. They wanted to patronize their parties, whatever that means, but you don't flout the law. Because if you look at that section 122 of the Electoral Act, it even spells the penalty for doing that. It talks about people, you can't vote by proxy these days, unlike in the days of past, where somebody can take the electoral ballot paper and go and thumbprint.
Let's quickly read it. Section 122.
Yes.
Every person in attendance at a polling unit, including every officer charged with the conduct of an election and his or her assistants, and every polling unit, polling agent and candidate in attendance at a polling unit, polling station, or at the collation center, as the case may be, shall maintain and aid in maintaining the secrecy of the voting. No person sub 2 in attendance at a polling booth under this section shall, except for some purpose authorized by law, communicate to any person information as to the name or number on the register of any voter who has or has not voted at the place of voting. 3. No person shall interfere with a voter casting his or her vote, or by any other means obtain or attempt to obtain in a polling unit information as to the candidate for whom a voter in that place is about to vote for or has voted for. And that's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
I shouldn't know who you have voted for, and I shouldn't know who you want to vote for.
No person shall communicate at any time to any other person information obtained in a polling unit as to the candidate to whom a voter is about to vote for or has voted for.
The most important part, subsection 4.
Any person acting contrary to the provisions of this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a maximum fine of 100,000 naira or imprisonment for a term of 3 months or both. Okay, anyway.
I mean, the point is well made. The point is well made, and the point you were making, Ken, is that that's part of the process.
Yes, it's part of the process that we should interrogate. And the media ought to point out these things.
That is very, very strong.
No. We should be... See, media is beyond informing. The role of the media is no longer, it's just beyond informing people. You should interpret it.
Educate.
You should educate the people. And you should also analyze.
We've been doing that, Ken.
Yeah, that's
what you've been watching us since Friday.
No. Of course, this is my darling station. Channels is prima donna as far as I'm concerned in terms of electoral analysis, because you are dispassionate. I'm very professional. But I'm saying that beyond that, every other media house should take this manual vis-a-vis the process. Begin to tell the public that this is wrong and this is right. It is when we begin to point out these things that we grow. All of us want to grow electorally.
Sorry, George, my sincere apologies. Yeah. Ladi, please don't crucify me for this question. But let me ask Mr. Ubeche. If you find someone doing just this, that you said the president does and a number of people have done, and the police is around and says, we need to enforce this law, and the police begins to pick people who do that at a polling unit, what do you think the consequence would be?
No, There's nothing wrong with a police, but you know there are some people that are governed by immunity for now.
Yeah.
For instance, the president has immunity, but I'm saying there are other people who don't have immunity.
That's the point that I'm making.
Yes,
because someone actually, I think it was an Osazeuzi, said about this thing that you're talking about, that it is one thing to have the law. It's another thing to enforce the law in a way that will be seen to be fair to all concerned. So this is the law. Many people who contravened this law, acted contrary to this law in this process, know themselves as we speak. Now, how do we enforce this aspect of the law without seeming unfair?
Oh, very, very simple. You see, this issue of how to be fair in the eyes of the law is what has kept Nigeria stuttered, manacled to the stump of underdevelopment, even to the stump of primitivity. If you have a law, for crying out loud, we all watched Bill Clinton as a sitting president being interrogated by a Ken Starr, being drilled every day. It was a movie for us. That was the most powerful president in the world. But he submitted himself to the law of the land. Everybody in Nigeria should submit himself to the law of the land. If you don't do that, you are not, forget democracy. You are not ready for democracy. It's about the rule of law. It doesn't matter who you are. Now, the president has immunity. Okay, I agree with that. You don't arrest him, he has immunity. But you can investigate somebody who has immunity and keep his file. When he loses that immunity, you can prosecute the person. That's the law. In the case of people that don't have immunity, why didn't the law act, the law enforcers?
I mean, even if we can argue that, oh, in the case of the president or some of the others who indicated who they were voting for, as you said, whatever patronage reasons and so on. I mean, let's put that, and it comes back to the point Ayo made about being fair. The ones who actually showed their ballot papers for the purpose of payment, and you know, as evidence of payment, I mean, do they also fall under this?
Now, that payment is vote buying. Electoral Act, Section 22, you can go there. Section 22 talks about vote buying. Vote buying is an offense under the law. The buyer and the seller are both culpable. Go to Section 22 of the Electoral Act.
We've arrested many sellers, but I'm not aware that, you know, we have arrested many sellers. No, many, okay, sorry, many buyers, but we have not arrested any sellers. So I guess it goes back to the implementation question that I mentioned.
Let's go to
that is selective enforcement of the law.
Well,
absolutely.
Any person who, A, is in unlawful possession of any voter's card, whether used in the name of any voter or not, or sells or attempts to sell or offers to sell any voter's card, whether issued in the name of any voter or not, or buys or offers to buy any voter's card, whether on his own behalf or on behalf of any other person, commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of not more than 500,000 naira or imprisonment not more than 2 years, or both.
So it's both the seller and the buyer.
Yes,
like he said now, we have arrested many buyers. But what about the masquerade selling it?
Yes, the people selling the votes.
Yes, people are selling this vote. And people send them to sell the vote.
It comes back to enforcement in a way that is, in a manner that is fair.
Millicent is our in-house counsel.
The investigations are ongoing to get the sellers, that they were on ground during the elections. We heard from CSO saying that vote buying in this election was low, was minimal.
Yeah, it was lower than it used to be.
Isn't that progress? And this is seeing as
progress. I think it's because of Naira Crunch. There was cash scarcity. Let's not forget that.
We're being told that our democracy is evolving.
Ayo doesn't like that word.
Our democracy is evolving. Let's not that.
Well, you gave me a new word, metamorphosis.
Yes. It's metamorphosing. Yes, metamorphosis means that you grow from pupa to larva to adult.
Yeah.
You know, there is a graduation in the growth.
Right.
In a positive sense.
Absolutely.
But if you snatch ballot boxes in 1983 or 1982 and you are still snatching it in 2003 or 2019 or 2015 or 2011, is that growth? Is that the metamorphosis we should be celebrating?
On a lighter note, Laddie, the ballot boxes in the 80s were wooden boxes.
They're very difficult to carry. You're very difficult to carry. Okay, now these other ones are more lightweight. Yeah, and that's where they're much lighter.
Easier to carry even now.
But let's not make light of what is otherwise a very serious situation, because again, because this speaks to what Ken mentioned at the start, which is the issue of process. And if you see incremental changes over time, then you, whether it's evolution you use or metamorphosis you use, you see, growth and development. I just wanted to ask you, Ken, from what you said thus far, but I don't want to take that, simply at face value that we haven't witnessed that incremental value, because if indeed we haven't, then we really have a big problem. But the fact that today we are talking of electronic transmission and the lack thereof, the fact that, there's less voter inducement, that more young people came out to participate in the election, that, the process, while there are parts of it that were not fulfilled, that the process largely was better than we, by the figures we have from the various CSOs and so on, the figures show a substantial, as the lawyers would say, compliance with the processes that were put in place. So, do you agree with that? Did you see that?
Definitely. Well, there is an incremental value added. There's no doubt about that. And I'll take us back to 2007. Remember that the voter register in 1999, then 2003, up to 2007, had names like Michael Jackson, now voter register, Mike Tyson,
yes,
some exotic names were there, until we introduced the DDC, Direct Data Capture Machine. That helped to clean up the voter register, because that's actually the takeoff point for rigging. When you have a faulty voter register, rigging is as simple as ABC. So we've been able to introduce technology, and we are advancing in that calibration of introduction of technology. From DDC now, we went to card reader, which means on the day of election, a machine had to certify that you are actually the true owner of this card and that this is who you are. Now we are graduated to BVARs, which not only tells that you are the true identity of who you claim, but also is capable of transmitting results. The very fact that we are at the juncture where we are asking why was the result not transmitted real-time online as promised shows that, and these are the questions we didn't ask before, because they were not, it was never promised before. That technology was never there before. So it tells you that we have made advancement. But that advancement, we must also make it work. It's not working. Why people, there's a rage out there and anger and red eye everywhere is that they feel that all that were promised were not kept. And it's because of that promise, and because of the infusion of technology into the process that raised the consciousness of a new generation of voters, the younger generation. They now believe that votes will count this time. The same people, the same age bracket, are now go out there on the street, they are raging, they are raving, they are cursing, and they are saying that the votes are not counting after all the promises, after all the infusion of technology, and that is should get us worried, and even much more the Independent National Electoral Commission, because that's the agency of government that is certified, certificated, licensed by law to organize free and fair, credible and verifiable elections. Not just organize elections for us. This election must be free, fair, and must be seen to be free and fair, credible, and must be verifiable. Because you said you will transmit this result, which means every polling unit result will be on your server. Now, when Party A will now tally all that were transmitted by their agents and compare with what was declared at the end of the day. So we have a long journey, actually, in this electoral process. Even if the result comes out tomorrow, on Thursday, or wherever, I'm telling you, it's just the beginning of yet another journey, this time in the direction of the judiciary.
I'd like us to stay with the process, as you talked about it earlier. You cited the process that involves...
Sorry, let me just put you on pause there, because the results of The election in Imo State has just been sent in to us. The final results indicate that the Labour Party has won the presidential election in Imo State. It polled 352,904 votes to beat all the other parties in the Imo elections. Other parties that were in the elections were the APC, which scored 66,171 votes. The PDP scored 30,044 votes, and the NNPP 1,536 votes. Let me take that again. The Labour Party's presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, has won the presidential election in Imo State. He polled a total of 352,904 votes to beat the presidential candidate of the APC in the election. The presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Tinubu, scored 66,171 votes in Imo State, while the presidential candidate of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, scored 30,044 votes in Imo State. The NNPP's Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso scored 1,536 votes. So the results there of the election, the presidential election in Imo State.
More to come. That leaves us with
12 now.
12
I think,
more
sorry, 11 actually.
11
it's 11 states now.
Okay. Well, the votes are counting.
And they are coming.
No, the votes are
coming. Because Ken's contention is that there's contention over whether they are counting.
Yes.
But then we have to count them.
Well, we are not counting, we are announcing.
Exactly. I wanted to, you've spoken to the electorate, the role the electorate needed to play, and you've also brought in the angle of the vote buyer, vote seller, and all of that. My question to you now is, you've spoken about various stakeholders. The voter, which is the electorate, is just one category of stakeholders in the electoral process. Which other ones, other than INEC, have or were supposed to play a role that, as from what you can see, didn't quite play that role, that has also, one way or the other, not made it the way we want it to be?
The political parties ought to play their role in voter education. The media must play its role in educating the public and taking them through the processes before, during, and even after elections. The civil society organizations also should play their role. These are critical stakeholders. But I will still single out the media. Okay, that's my own fraternity. And we have not played our role in an excellent manner. And I will say it, I say it with every sense of responsibility, being a stakeholder in the media. And I was telling somebody, a colleague of mine this morning, that the media has become partisan media reporting partisan politics. You can see the fractured media taking sides based on, ownership, even ethnic divides. Those things, those primordial sentiments and lines, strictures that govern politics and politicians are beginning to govern the space of the media. And it shouldn't be so. We should be aloof, distant from the politicians, because that's the only way you can actually bring them to account to the public. If you begin to jump into the cesspit with the same person you are supposed to correct, you don't have that moral badge anymore to correct the person. And you won't even see clearly. The media is no longer seeing clearly the way they should see, because the media is also beclouded by who owns us. Who pays the person that pays the piper calls the tune every day and any day. So I think the media should also show themselves as independent media.
Well, perhaps that's one good thing we can say about that is the media in Nigeria is not owned by just one individual or interest category or group. Government, we have government, spokesperson, media houses. We have individuals who have, media houses, be it broadcast or print.
Yeah.
And even whether if it's broadcast, it's radio and television. If it's print, it's magazines, it's online, and everyone is online now anyway. In fact, newspaper houses are now having TV platforms,
definitely,
to themselves. So it's been, should we say, democratized, so to speak. So we can say that if you put out your news here, there will always be someone to check you on this side. Is that a fair way to look at the media, the role of the media?
That is actually what is happening, because you can't see a uniform headline anymore. And also the very fact that, in those days, let me say in the Second Republic, the 1983 election and the rest of them, you don't have too many media platforms. So there wasn't actually real competition. It is what the Daily Times tells you when the election is free and fair that most people believe. It is what NTA tells you. The private media houses have not mushroomed. They were not even born then anyway, because even the Asset Network was not born. So what I'm saying in a sense is that while we have a broad spirit of media with diversity of ideologies and ownership governed by whether it's religious sentiment or whatever sentiment.
So sorry to interrupt you, Ken. The visuals on the screen here are live pictures from Abuja. We understand that there's about to be a joint press conference between the People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party, of course, assumedly about these elections. They're already taking their seats. So perhaps we should just join in and listen.
Okay. Looks like we're just settling down. They're just settling down to the press conference. As soon as they begin, possibly even before the official takeoff, we'll most certainly let you know and probably switch over. While at it, of course, this is where the media that you're talking about picks its news. Okay, so it's one thing to push this out, another thing to report it, and all of that. So looks like, okay, they're about to start, but once we have information about the official takeoff of that meeting, we'll definitely let you know. Just go ahead and conclude your thoughts.
Yeah, I was saying that whether we have a broad period of media houses governed by their various ideologies, what is critical is that people must report professionally. The media is governed by ethics and laws. So why flout the ethics of the profession that you belong? Just because of your belly or whatever reason that governs your thinking? I think at the end of the day, professionalism must be key, whether it's in the judiciary or in the media or any profession.
Sometimes, Sir Ken, they need help, assistance. They have a story, they're chasing it. They meet the authorities. There's no reply. Do they have to wait for a press conference before, and they're supposed to reply on time in this era of the internet, social media?
You see, that is one thing that some media sources or the people we report tend to think they will hold us to ransom. If you have your facts, go ahead and report your story. If they have a counter story, let them tell their counter story. It's only when I don't have the facts that I want somebody to confirm. If I give you an opportunity to respond to an inquisition or inquiry I sent to you, and you are stalling on it, I will only state there that I've sent you inquiry, you did not respond. That's also fairness. So if the media has the facts, report the facts that you have. So media should not, we don't have any reason not to be fair. And not being fair is not also being fair to the readers, the electorate, the listeners, the viewers. And we must be fair to all in our reportage, especially when it's about political reporting. Because this is about the life of a nation. This is about leadership of people, communities, states, electoral districts, and then the whole nation. So if you twist the facts just because you want to push a particular narrative, it will come back to haunt you tomorrow. And what has happened over the years now, like what we remind ourselves that all of us still go to the same market today. So the market does not recognize that, oh, you defended this person, or you were part of a plot that brought this president in, or this governor in, or whoever. We all go to the same market. So we suffer the brunt. We bear it together with the general public. So the media owes itself, even itself, a duty to report factually, balanced reports, and those abide by the ethics that govern the profession of media practice.
I was going to say, so media professionalism, but some people say the kind of politics we play in Nigeria is absolutely different. It's very unique.
It is brazen, it is brutal, in fact, very brutish politics that we play. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, when I used to give an example, you know, in the days of the military, I was a news editor in the days of the military, at least towards the transition of Abacha era to democracy. I was a group news editor of the Defunct Post Express. And I could tell the headlines of other newspapers on a particular story. When a particular press release comes, I know that this is a front page story because it was chasing the agenda that we all have, the whole media and the whole nation, get the military out of the space. Campaign for Democracy, NADECO, Eastern Mandate Union, AEMU, they were making front page stories. Once you get them, it's a front page. Oh, 300 university dons want Abacha out. It's a front page story. But immediately we enter the arena of democracy. We have that in purpose. The plurality of opinion begin to evolve. People now hold their different opinions because we don't have a common agenda. Now, if the media has a common agenda in having a credible election, it doesn't matter who the candidates are. By saying that the processes and the laws must be, you just follow the process. If we have that as a common agenda, we can do better than we are doing now. And that is the issue. We have different agenda, different, of course, propelled by different purposes and philosophies and ideologies of the different media, and also much more by ownership. Because ownership and patronage are key determinants of where the news will swing. Who owns the media? Is it the politician that owns the media? Because even if it's private sector that owns it, the private sector owner may have